you all know, I'm Dr. Bindushree Bandari, your nutritionist from Herbalife Corporate India. And before we further go ahead, as you all remember, few rules and regulations, right? So no photography and no videography allowed. So please be attentive because this is an amazing and it's going to be a very informative session today with our special guest. So before we go ahead, if you want to listen to this session in your preferred languages and you are connecting to us through your laptop, then go to your laptop screen. On the top left corner, you can see, top right corner, you can get to see an interpretation symbol, the small globe symbol. Click on that and you can choose your language. So switch off the original English audio and choose your preferred language. It can be Hindi, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, and if you want Bengali, that is also there in Spanish, right? Now, moving on. If you are joining us through your phone, either your iPhone or your Android mobile, then on the top right corner, you can see three dots. Click on those three dots and first switch off the original audio, which is in English, and then choose your preferred languages. So without further ado, let's quickly start our session. Before that, I'll invite our special guest and very warm welcome to you, Shamal sir. So Shamal Vallabhji is a South African-born performance psychologist and a sports strategist, renowned for his expertise in optimizing team dynamics and culture and integrating cutting-edge neurofeedback training with wearable technology in elite sports. He has also trained Olympic athletes across teams of different sports like cricket, tennis, golf, football, and even marathon running, and is a distinguished member of the teaching team at the Stanford Business Schools, and a trusted advisor of Fortune 500 and 1,000 corporations and cutting-edge sports technology firms and innovative wellness startups. So very, very warm welcome to you, Shamalji. I hope we have a great session ahead.
Thank you so much, Bindushree, and thank you everyone and welcome everyone to this beautiful session. I am thoroughly delighted that I get to be your expert today. As Bindushree has said, I work across multiple different fields with professional athletes. I work in the capacity of a sports scientist where I understand movement. And because I'm understanding movement, I'm looking into aspects of nutrition and fueling. But I'm also someone who coaches leaders and Olympic athletes on mindset. Psychology is one of my key areas of expertise. So over the next 30 to 40 minutes, I'm going to be talking to you about
Recording
10
in progress.
key principles. These 10 key principles that I'm going to give you are not going to be into the micro and macronutrients. Bindushree will jump in there and lean in on aspects like that. But I'm going to be giving you core fundamental philosophies that guide the direction that you're moving in. So whether you are an athlete yourself, whether you like to move 2 or 3 days a week, whether you run a nutrition club where you get people coming in, or perhaps you're building an organization or advising an organization, these principles will help you throughout. So I hope you have some pen and paper close by. Be like me, every single time I'm listening, reading, or doing anything, I always have paper and pen close by. I'm proud to say that this is almost my 11th year working with Herbalife Nutrition as one of the experts. I work with our athlete contingents. I work in education, understanding our products, and helping all of our distributors understand how to apply that. For me, it's been a thoroughly amazing journey. So you can imagine how excited I am to be here to share my knowledge with you. So I hope you're excited, and let's get ahead with the very, very first principle. Okay. Principle number 1, Now, this is very, very important for us to understand. It says, you are not a product of what you eat. You are a product of what your body can digest. So I'm going to break this down for you. As a sports scientist, we do a whole bunch of assessments on the body. Now, inside our body, we have our digestive tract, which has millions and trillions of bacteria. It's that bacteria that allows food to be broken down. So if you have a particular type of bacteria, it can metabolize a certain type of food. If that bacteria does not exist, you will not be able to break down that food, irrespective of how healthy that food is. So when I say you're a byproduct of what your body digests, it means the health of your body is directly proportional to the number of bacteria that you have in your tummy, your intestines, your colon, all over that. Because that will determine how quickly we metabolize food, okay, and how quickly you can use that nutrient. Now, as human beings, more than 90% of our nutrition gets absorbed through our gut, through our digestive system. So the health of the digestive system is very, very, very important. So if we want to start to move in a healthy path, irrespective of whether we're exercising or not exercising, perhaps we want to lose weight, or perhaps we want to gain weight. If we want to have clearer, healthier skin, maybe we even have a certain chronic or an autoimmune condition that's creating certain inflammation in our body. Every single thing starts with our gut. So when I say you're not a byproduct of what you eat, you're a byproduct of what you can digest, we need to be extra meticulous attention to our gut. And what are the things that we can do? Well, we'll give you a whole bunch of things over the course of this 30-minute talk. But it starts off with eating lots of fiber, eating lots of, getting in lots of hydration, getting in diverse types of whole foods. These are critically important. And remember, every single food type has a different bacteria. Having spinach, having fruit, having legumes, different types of seeds and nuts, they all break down into different bacteria. So the wider the range of foods you consume, the healthier your gut is going to be. And one of the main things we should try to do is, if we are feeling anything in our body, we should try to heal our body naturally. Take a step back, use perhaps things like ice for inflammation, but don't necessarily deviate to taking too much medication. Medication kind of destroys the bacteria in our gut, and food heals it. So our journey should be on looking after, having a very, very beautiful, intuitive relationship with our gut. And if you start to look after your gut, you'll start to feel amazing. The quality of your sleep will go up. The quality of your productivity will go up. The quality of your movement will go up. You will start to see changes in your skin. You'll start to glow. We've even seen all sorts of different chronic all melt away, all because of that. So the very, very first starting point is, I want us to understand that as we embark on this journey, what we want to be careful of and what we want to be meticulously attentive to is how healthy our stomach is. Now, someone may ask me this question: how do we know if our tummy is not healthy? Well, you will know your tummy is not healthy if you have certain signs and symptoms, like, do you have bloating? Do you have indigestion? Do you have a lot of excessive heartburn? When you eat certain foods, do you have post that meal, do you feel very lethargic, massive
आप
dips in energy?
हमेशा आलसी
These are signs of an
आपको लगता है,
unhealthy
ये
gut.
वो
So if you
संकेत है जिसका मतलब है कि आपका गट जो है स्वस्थ नहीं है। और इसमें जो है आपको जो है थोड़ा कम खाना है, और उसके साथ कुछ हाइड्रेशन की जरूरत है, पानी पीने की जरूरत है। और हर्बल लाइफ के जो उत्पाद हैं उसमें जो पेय पदार्थ हैं उसे आपको लेना है। अनप्रोसेस्ड फूड, अप्रसंस्कृत।
So the way we determine the health of any organ is by the signs and symptoms that it would produce. That's principle number one. Let's move on. Principle number two. Okay. Principle number two is timing is everything. Okay, sorry, go back. Yes, timing is everything. What you eat is important, but when you eat it is even more important. Now, we will come on and we'll speak about different types of foods that are fast release, that are slow release, but timing is critically important. We'll notice we have things like slow release proteins, which I'll talk about a little bit later, that take between 4 to 6 hours to completely digest and release into your system. And then we have fast release foods that get interjected into the system within 30 to 60 minutes. Each of these have completely different benefits. Some of them help with that muscle synthesis. They help with refueling quickly. Some of them help with muscle regeneration, and they help with recovery over a longer period of time. Now, the way to understand everything is to be very, very careful and analyze your day. Analyze exactly what types of activity you're doing. What is the caloric burn and the energy expenditure in that activity? And then we use a very, very critical window after exercise to fuel with what is fast release proteins and carbohydrates. So within 30 minutes of exercising is a very, very important window where your body is like a vacuum that will start to suck that nutrition in. Once you do that, your body starts that regeneration immediately. Now, when I say timing is everything, most people think recovery happens in the night. The truth is that recovery starts to happen the very, very second your exercise stops happening. The very second your training session stops, the process of recovery begins. And everything is directly proportional to hydration, which you're going to come to. So I'm going to pause for 2 minutes and hand it over to Bindoshri, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about protein and about the cycles.
Yes. So thank you, Shamil. So basically, like how you have mentioned, the main aspect is after the timing. So when we say the timing, our post-exercise time frame also matters a lot. And usually it is during this period, like you mentioned, our muscles are like a vacuum. It's like a sponge. Everything that comes in connect with it, it takes in. So that frame of time, when you're eating a healthier part of nutrients, a healthier food groups, which is easily absorbed into the body and it shows its responses, that is what matters a lot. And for that, our protein is also a very big, plays a big aspect. So we know for a fact that protein main function is, healing the body, the growth of the body, the muscle fibers, each and everything. So at this frame of time, eating the easiest absorbed protein form is also very, very important at this frame of time for its healing of the muscle tissues and rebuilding the damaged muscle tissues and restoration of the energy reserves. So if we go later to the next slide, we can see here the graphical representation. Our body, after the exercise, our muscle fibers are at its highly absorbent stage, at least for 30 to 45 minutes. So 0 to 30 to 45 minutes is our time bracket to make sure we are eating the right nature of protein to give our body that healing and restoration process, right? So at least 20 grams of proteins play a very, very important role here. But along with that, it's not just the protein that plays part here. Even the carbohydrates, because our body is exhausted as well. So giving that sudden good release of carbohydrates, the simple carbohydrates also will help our body for that energy, and it will let the protein focus on its major function of the rebuilding part, right? So the amino acids and builds the new fiber proteins, and here this entire combination is beautifully come in our product, and that is our Herbalife 24 Rebuild Strength, which is a perfect combination of the proper set of carbohydrates and a proper combination of protein categories. So let's move on to the next principle, Shamal.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Bidushi, principle number 3 is consistency over perfection. And I want everyone to really and truly understand this. One bad meal is not going to let you slide back and ruin everything. And one good meal is not going to fix all of your problems. We as human beings are a byproduct of habit. You would have learned many leadership coaches, many nutritionists, many exercise scientists constantly talk about consistency, about routine, about habits. Habits are critically important. And as a psychologist and as someone who lectures neuroscience, I can tell you our brain loves habits. They love anything that we repeat. So I'll give you a very interesting example. If you go to a shop to want to buy perhaps a shirt or a pair of jeans, if you don't have anyone standing next to you, there's a very, very good chance you will go and purchase the exact same color of the jeans and the exact same style that you already have in your cupboard at home. Why are you doing that? The reason you're doing that is because your brain likes familiarity. Your brain likes routine. It likes to repeat. Now, if you want to change something and if you want something different, then the good chances you need someone standing next to you who encourages you to try something different. Because if you don't have anyone, the brain likes routine. So your brain will respond to consistency and routine. So what I'd like you to start doing is looking at your entire day and looking at it and breaking it up into pockets of routines. How would you start your day? Perhaps you want to start and wake up and have half a liter of water to replenish all that hydration we lost overnight. Perhaps you want to start with fruit, so you want to eat something that's high fiber or high protein. How would you like to ease out of that and enter into your shake? How would you enter into your lunch? When do you break it up? What are the types of meals? When are you getting slow release? Start to look at things in routine and keep repeating that process over and over. And by repeating, it does not change whether you're in India or outside of India, whether you're traveling, whether you're working, you keep it exactly, because that is the power of routine. Routine means it must not change at all. When I'm training some of my athletes, we train with the simplest thing early in the morning, which is a little bit of movement. So a little bit of movement, which could be 1 minute of just running on the spot, or 1 minute of squats, or 1 minute of push-ups. That little jolt of exercise just kickstarts your entire metabolism from a night of resting. That is probably one of the best things that you can do to kickstart that metabolism, then get that caloric burn happening. Other interesting things that you could do is consume high quantities of protein in the morning, because protein also kickstarts your metabolism. It requires a lot more combustion energy. It lasts for a longer period of time, and the caloric burn lasts longer than eating slow, fast release carbohydrates for breakfast. So consistency over perfection. The principle is about us paying attention to detail on every small thing and asking ourselves, what can we repeat every single day? The secret to consistency is to start as small as you possibly can. Ask yourself, not what's going to be the most difficult, biggest thing for me to change, but what is that tiny microscopic step that I know will be easy for me? And break it up. Break it up into nutrition and break it up into movement, and have tiny little steps for each one. Okay. Hope you got that. That's principle number 3. We're going to move on to principle number 4. Okay. Principle number 4 is about the principle of individuality. This is a very, very specific sports science principle. Adequate nutrition is different for each person. Now, we're sitting in here, and as I look at it, we have almost 9,000 people on this call. So 9,000 distributors have shown up to understand sports nutrition, to learn for themselves, to learn how to help someone else. Now, every single one of us are different. Our gut health may be different. We may be living in a different environment. Our genetic makeup is different. The type of food we eat is different. Our height is different. Our body weight, our lean muscle mass, every single thing is different. And because everything is different, our body will metabolize and respond to things in a very, very different manner. So when I say adequate nutrition is different for each person, what does that actually mean? Besides the obvious, that means that some people may need to have 50 grams of protein and some people may need to have 75 grams of protein in a day. Besides that, it means that we need to be a little more attentive to how our body responds to what we eat. So for some of us who eat a heavy protein meal where we have 25 to 30 grams of protein on that plate there, take notice of how do I feel. Do I feel very, very bloated? Do I feel very low because I've eaten too much? Perhaps I need to bring that down a little bit. Perhaps I've eaten that much and I'm not even feeling full at all. So what's my satiety levels like? What's my brain ability to focus like? What's my energy levels like? Pay careful attention to every single thing you eat and how it responds to your body. Because the truth about nutrition is that within 15 minutes of eating something, putting anything in your mouth, it starts to impact how you move and how you think. Within 15 minutes of eating anything, it starts to impact how you move and how you think. And to truly look at a beautiful relationship with food, we have to be mindfully attentive to how our body responds to all of this. This is exactly how I do it when I'm coaching all of my elite athletes. We're titrating their meals, we're giving them the best shakes, we're giving them the healthiest meals, well prepared. There's no trans or polyunsaturated fats. We're keeping it very clean, lots of fiber. They're washed perfectly to remove all pesticides and toxins. We're creating the cleanest, healthiest meal for them. But still, I am relying on their feedback with how their body feels after that. This is the most important thing. And if your body does not feel good after eating something, then it's the first sign that we need to remove it from there. So adequate nutrition is different for everyone is the principle of individuality. Start to be mindfully attentive of how your body responds, and you are fast tracking your growth and your path to success when it comes to nutrition and movement. Principle number 4. Let's move on.
So very, very rightly said, Shaman. So as you mentioned, it's all about individuality, the person's needs. It can never be the same. So many times as coaches, we all come across people saying that I've lost weight, my body is responding well, and but my brother is complaining that his body is not responding to the routine. So all the time, no matter how close, even if it is in the same family or whichever sector we are, even if we are following a same routine, like a group of people following a same routine, as a coach, we should always remember that every person is different. How their body responds to each and every food is different, and their routines also should be set according to that. So very beautifully you have put it, Shamal. Now let's move on to our next principle. Principle number 5.
Thank you so much. If you noticed on that previous slide, we gave you 2 examples of the amount of adequate protein per person. Okay, if we can bring that up. You said someone who's 85 kgs, we should be looking at between 85 to 95 grams of protein per day. Someone who's 50, between 50 to 55. And this slide is so important because it breaks one of the most prominent myths in the sports nutrition world. In the sports nutrition world, everyone used to say you need to have 0.6 to 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. The new science is saying that we need 0.6 to 0.8 grams per pound of muscle mass, which means that it's leaning on the higher side of 1 gram per kilogram. And this here is showing you exactly that. So very simple. If you want to know how much protein you need to take, go and stand on a scale. Right? You stand on a scale, what your weight is going to give you a baseline in grams of how much of protein you need. And you can titrate that up just a little bit based on the quality and intensity of the movement that you're doing. So this is a very, very powerful slide. So a big thank you to everyone who created our slides and decks, who brought this in. Really, really powerful. Remember this, if you've got a nutrition club, use this slide as well to showcase people, because most of us are very, very low on our protein intake, irrespective of whether we're moving or not. Most of us are there. Okay, let's move on. Principle number 5 is that hydration is a non-negotiable. Now, most people who talk about hydration are going to talk to you about drinking water or mixing your electrolyte solutions and doing that. And this is very, very important. As a sports scientist who's working with athletes, we do one of two things. And this may be an interesting way for you to bring a little bit of sports science into your life. I would suggest, if you don't have a bathroom scale at home, get a bathroom scale. Weigh yourself in the morning. And if you're doing a heavy bout of exercise, weigh yourself after. And you would see a little bit of a difference in terms of your weight. That difference is generally indicative of the amount of water that you've lost in the day. Right? Now, you can also do that to titrate your day morning to end. Weigh yourself in the morning, weigh yourself in the evening, so that you get some sort of fluctuation. Generally, our weight should go up, but it shouldn't go up by more than a kg and a half maximum with all the food, and your body will reset to that. If you've gone above 2 kgs in one way, then there's a good chance we have overeaten and under-exercised for that day. So the bathroom scale is one of the easiest, simplest tools for you to use to start to be mindfully aware of how we're hydrating, how we're fueling, and what's happening on the day-to-day basis. Now, coming to hydration, there's something that's critically important that people don't do. The best way for us to hydrate our body is not by drinking water. The best way to hydrate our body is by eating plant foods that release water when they're cooked. So mushrooms, tomatoes, spinach, anything that when heated, you'll find in the pot or in the pan, there's water collecting at the bottom. These foods are the best way for you to hydrate your body. Now, you see, we heard a lot of nutritionists will come and talk to you, and they talk about slow versus fast protein release. So slow release proteins, fast release proteins. They'll talk to you about simple carbohydrates, which is fast release. And they'll talk to you about complex carbohydrates, which is more slow release. But no one will come and tell you that certain water substances, certain foods also release water into the body over a sustained period of time, giving the body better ability to absorb that hydration. Okay, so similarly, drinking a glass of water is fast hydration. Eating water-rich foods is slow hydration, and slow hydration is absolutely phenomenally important for our body to absorb all of that, because everything takes time. It needs time to pull it into every single cell in our body. But the key principle is hydration is non-negotiable. So starting today, find that balance between how much you're drinking, but incorporate in your diet on a day-to-day basis foods, plant-based foods that release water when they're heated. Let's move on.
Very, very rightly said. And along with this, if you see that a lot of summer vegetables are the vegetables which release water while we cook. We have got vegetables in India, and it is always in season during the summers. And this would be one of the best ways to include and to see to it that we are hydrated, including them, particularly in our diet. Mainly why we are saying emphasizing on these gourd vegetables is because they are not that great in taste. Tendency to avoid it is also very, very high. So including them all the way makes it more important into our diet. And along with that, having a lot fluids with good electrolyte content is very important. And one best aspect of Herbalife portfolio is our Herbalife 24 Hydrate, which has all its bioavailable electrolytes and also has its vitamin B and C forms as well. Now, the best part about it is you can have it any time of the day to keep your hydration levels intact. So one sachet, if we mix it with 500 ml of water, we can even sip it during the day. It does not mean you do not have to, wait like only during this part of the day I have to finish it off. It does not have a fixed recommendation that way. It is flexible and it can be used any time in our day to keep our hydration levels intact, along with the other fluids and the fluid-rich vegetables to include in. Now, moving on to our sixth principle.
The Herbalife Hydrate is probably one of my favorite products that we have.
Wow.
Exactly like how Bindushri says, for me, I use it every single day, mix a sachet, keep it in the bottle, and that bottle is there throughout the day, mixing it, sipping it at different times. That orange flavor tastes absolutely exceptional. So it's my number one favorite product. It's the one that I make sure all of my athletes at least have a few sachets, whether we're in the plane, whether we're in the sports field, we always got it. So principle number 6, the first 120 minutes of your day is very important. Now, this is a principle that's not anchored so much in nutrition as it's anchored in our neurobiology or in our psychology. Now, I'm not sure how many of you would wake up in the morning and you like caffeine. Perhaps you have an fresh or perhaps you have coffee. Science has shown us that a person who has a cup of coffee or a cup of a fresh with caffeine in the first 120 minutes would consume more of that product throughout the day. Right? If you have a very simple carb-rich breakfast, you will require and consume way more carbohydrates in the day. If you eat protein in the first 120 minutes, your body will call for more protein. The first 120 minutes is the holy grail of nutrition. What you give your body in that time there, your body will ask more of it over the day. And you will notice for some of us, perhaps we like intermittent fasting or fasting. And you'll notice that for those people who fast, who don't even put anything in your system, your body doesn't even ask for food. You're able to go for a longer period of time without eating, because this is the holy grail of neurobiology. What we feed our brain and our body in the first 120 minutes, your body will ask more of it consistently over the day. So now, using this core principle, a principle that's rooted in our brain hormones, rooted in our psychology, and that gets implemented through our nutrition, you should be very, very careful and decide very, very meticulously, what am I going to feed my body? Because what you feed your body in the first 120 minutes, you're feeding your brain and you're feeding your psychology. Your first 120 minutes will determine not just how healthy you are and how you function, it'll also determine the mindset with which you operate throughout the day. So the first 120 minutes are the most important. Let's move ahead. Principle number 7, this is one of my favorite ones. Sleep is the holy grail of recovery, because sleep and nutrition go hand in hand. Now, so many people come and ask me these questions. Interestingly, I straddle a lot of work with corporates. Just like how I'm speaking to our distributors here, I also work with our internal staff at Herbalife. I work with my elite athletes, and I do a lot of work with corporate executives. The number one epidemic that's impacting all of us is no longer a sort of COVID or a disease like that. It's a lack of quality sleep. The amount of people who are struggling to get just 7 to 7.5 hours of sleep a night is absolutely shocking. Now, if your body is not rested and you are not sleeping well, your body is not getting an adequate chance to heal. So sleep is critically important. Now, we've spent all of this time talking about nutrition, looking at all of these basic principles to amplify, to optimize our body. But the truth is that your number one recovery tool is sleep. Because if sleep is not present, nothing else can work for you. And whilst we're paying careful attention to our nutrition and our hydration, I need you to pay double that attention to the quality of your sleep. Look at what it is that you can do to optimize it. To break down the science of sleep in a very, very interesting, perhaps some minutes, there are three key things that can disturb sleep. One is temperature fluctuations at night. The second is sound going up and down in your room. And the third is artificial light entering your room. If you're getting artificial light from outside or an LED, use an eye mask. If you got sounds coming from outside, use some earplugs in there. If you got an AC, try to regulate your temperature between 19 to 21 degrees. It's the optimum sleeping temperature. Just paying careful attention to these three things will increase the quality of your sleep. And then the best way to improve your sleep is to make sure you go to bed at roughly the same time every single day within a 30-minute window. I told you in the beginning that our brain is a creature of habit. It loves repeat. It loves what is familiar. So once you start to go to bed at the same time every single day, it starts to understand this is when I should get tired. It starts to secrete melatonin, and you'll start to enjoy very, very beautiful, restful sleep. Sleep is the holy grail of recovery. Sleep goes hand in hand with nutrition, and it's very important that we approach both our nutrition and our sleep with the equal amount of importance. Critically important. Let's move on. Okay. Principle number eight is diversity fuels our gut health. I spoke to this earlier on. I told you we're not a byproduct of what we eat, we're a byproduct of what we can digest. And the best way to increase our gut health is by increasing the diversity of foods. So, if you are eating different types of grains, different types of colors, different types of bacteria getting in there, different types of fruits, veggies, all of this is critically important. If you can have the luxury of eating stuff that is organic, amazing. Try to get as much pesticides off our vegetables because those destroy our gut health. If you don't have that, when you buy vegetables, please make sure you wash them very, very thoroughly. You get specific washers that remove everything from there. Investing a little bit of dollars or a couple hundred rupees in this is very, very important because that investment is protecting our entire internal health. Not just protecting the health of our gut, it's also protecting the health of our brain because those pesticides and toxins on these foods, they migrate through our stomach to our brain and they start to impact the way we think. So diversity fuels gut health. But more important than the diversity is to try to be aware and conscious of the quality of that food that you're eating. Make sure it's organic, make sure it's clean, make sure it's well washed. Start to bring this in. Another beautiful thing that I suggest is if you're eating raw vegetables, do not overcook those vegetables. And if you can, take some of your vegetables and leave them out in the sun for about 30 to 45 minutes. They absorb vitamin D better than we can. And if you just lightly steam it or don't overcook it, this is a beautiful way for us to bring that sun's energy, that vitamin D into our body as well. So diversity is important. Cleaning the vegetables is critically important. Leaving them out in the sun to absorb vitamin D into that is a beautiful way to start getting our gut moving in the right direction. Let's move on.
So, like you mentioned, how important our gut is and how our probiotics and the bacterial flora that is important is affecting our intestines our which are there in our gut. So all of those are very important, but we also need to know what when you mentioned our lifestyle also affects our gut flora, our microflora, and that is not eating right, not having enough time to sleep, not having adequate amount of exercise, even stress. Current scenario, the current generations, there is a very stressful life. It's a very fast-paced life. So dealing with all the stress and plus, like how you had mentioned earlier, that how the even tablets, medicines also affect our gut flora. all of these aspects, whenever we are not giving our body to heal naturally, that also, and instead we opt for medicines for a faster response, that also affect our digestive health. So all of these play a very, very strong impact on our gut flora. And along with that, when we see to it that we have to start taking care of it, it's important to be very conscious of the foods that we choose, the diversity of foods, the diverse range of foods and vegetables, fruits, grains, every single thing has an impact in our, in making our gut healthy. And along with that, we have one of our best products, and that is our Simply Probiotic. Now, the best aspect about Simply Probiotic is it's convenient, plus the unique IS2 bacteria in it has the heat resistant feature, which makes it, it ensures that it directly enters our gut and gives its effect. It also survives the stomach acids and cannot be destroyed by heat or by acids or from our digestive juices, right? So it promotes our healthy bacterial growth, and that is how it enhances the gut health also. And because it's in sachets, it's easily convenient to take it anywhere. So one best part of our products, especially the range that we are discussing today, is they're all in sachets. They are very convenient and travel friendly, and it does not affect our routine. So our key principle, our starting first principles of consistency is taken care by them as well. And there are no added sugars in Simply Probiotic as well. So it is very good to go for even in the any time of the day for any individual. Only one sachet in a glass of water or mixing it with any kind of juices also would be sufficient enough for the day. So let's move on to the next principle.
Thank you so much, Bindushi. And just a reminder to everyone, if you have any questions on anything we said, there's a Q&A section. Please drop your questions. We will spend a couple of minutes. We will handpick the best questions and we'll answer them for you. So please take the time. Anything in your mind, leave it right there, but keep making notes. Principle number 9, slow release versus fast release. Like we said, timing determines fueling. And with this aspect, I'm talking about proteins. What is a slow release protein? What is a fast release protein? Well, slow release proteins are proteins that literally take between 4 to 8 hours to metabolize in those bodies. Those are your branch chain amino acids, things like your whole foods, your whole eggs, your plant-based proteins, things like casein, for example. These take a long time to release in the body. How do you know you're eating a slow release protein? Slow release proteins give you this feeling of being full, right? Now, it's really important to know what is a slow release protein because it doesn't work very, very well if you have it immediately post-exercise. These are the types of proteins that you can consume, like even your lean meats. Eat them at night so that your body, through that slow digestion process, is releasing them over a period of time because you will need that amount of time. But as Bindushi spoke, after exercise, we got that beautiful window of 30 to 45 minutes where our body and our muscle tissues are like a vacuum. In that time there, we need these fast release proteins that go in there. They interject and they start that muscle regeneration and synthesis at a very, very early stage. They start fueling and recovering from the very, very second. So these fast release proteins take between 30 to 60 minutes to get in. Aspects like egg whites, eating whey proteins, these are fast release ones that go in there. And the thing about a fast release protein is you can have one of your protein shakes, or you could eat some of this and it doesn't make you feel full. This is because they metabolize very, very quickly in the body. They're much lighter than the slow release, so they don't bring in that level of satiety. Now, you can analyze all of the proteins. You'll get a detailed description of what is slow, what is fast release, all on the internet. Have a look at your dietary restrictions. Start to categorize them. It wouldn't take you a lot of time. In 30 minutes, you'd be able to break down all of the proteins you eat into times that you should get them. Once you start to understand this and arrange your kitchen and organize things in the way, it becomes very, very easy to get the food that you're eating to start working for you in the manner that it should. So that's principle number 9, is to understand really and truly the difference between slow release and fast release proteins. And why am I stressing on proteins only? Because protein is the one macronutrient that most of us are deficient in. Most of us are not getting adequate amounts. And if we just step up in this category here, so much of our health problems, even our movement, recovery, and sleep problems will slowly start to disseminate. I hope you're ready. We're going to move on to the very, very last principle, principle number 10.
So, Shamal, before we move on to 10, one main thing which we spoke about in the beginning as well, when you had mentioned how protein is, what timing is important, timing of foods, the nature of food is also important. And that time we had mentioned about Herbalife 24 Rebuild Strength. And this is one of the best aspects that there we had mentioned that it has a perfect combination of carbohydrate and the protein. So when you have mentioned right now the slow and fast releasing protein, here is a perfect blend. So here in Herbalife 24 Rebuild Strength, it basically has the fast releasing your whey and casein coming in and the simplest carbohydrates in proper ratios, right? So this carbohydrate helps with supporting the delivery of the branched chain amino acids for the muscle synthesis, and also the branched chain amino acids that it has is L-glutamine, which helps with the muscle recovery, and it's also used for, even for the athletes in going in for competitive sports and everything, because it is tested for banned substances as well. So now this is one form of protein which everyone can use irrespective of what stage of workouts or activity level they are in. So this is one of the main aspects of our Herbalife 24 category, especially in our sports nutrition as well. Now, moving on to the 10th principle.
Thank you so much, Bindushi. And the 10th principle is really and truly giving you guidance on where to start. So after the principle, I'll share a QR code where you can even stay in touch with me, connect with me on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, you could write to me there over and above this, because I want to support you on your journey. I know that you have shown up because you're interested. I know you may have questions beyond this, so I'd love to support and help you in whatever way. But principle number 10 is, where do you begin this whole journey? Should we begin by just changing a particular diet, bringing one of our supplements in and consuming it? I generally tell people, I come from the world of professional sport. And for some of you who've begun this beautiful journey of moving, you would have noticed one thing that would resonate with you, I've experienced in my life. The place I ask everyone to begin is, I begin with movement. I know I've come here to talk to you about the principles of sports nutrition. But what I've seen is that when a person starts beginning to move, they become extra conscious of what they eat and how they eat. So the first place I want you to start beginning your journey of healthy living and healthy nutrition is by getting out there, finding a workout buddy, getting out, creating a social aspect around movement, increasing the caloric burn, increasing your expenditure. It could be different things. You could play sport. You could go play with the kids in the park. You could do a morning yoga workout or a Tai Chi workout, whatever you want to do, do it. But once you start to bring movement into your life, your brain will automatically switch into a different mode where you're starting to consume the right proteins and the right fuels. You will start to sleep better. You will start to be mindful of every single thing that you put into your body. Movement has this very, very powerful impact on our entire biology and neurobiology. And the beautiful thing about movement is it creates the social component around it. So a lot of our social anxiety starts to disappear. We become friends. Our mental health gets taken care of. All of things start to fall in place with movement. So if you've not begun a movement journey, then my strong advice of where to begin is to begin starting with some movement. If you are someone who exercises regularly, then my advice to you or my challenge to you is to bring someone along on this journey with you who doesn't move. And then the last thing I want to tell you is in the world of professional sport, we don't say push the ceiling, we say raise the floor. And what does that mean? Raise the floor means what is the lowest bare minimum amount of movement that you can do on a day-to-day basis, irrespective of what day it is. Whether it's Christmas, whether it's your birthday, whether you are traveling, this is the bare amount. And the basic floor of movement shouldn't require you to need clothes or special equipment or need to go to the gym. My floor for movement every single day is just 100 squats and 100 push-ups in the bathroom before I have a shower. Irrespective of where I am, I don't need anything, I can do it. Once you establish what your floor is, the floor must get done every single day. And the floor needs to be so easy and so small, it should take you no longer than 5 minutes to do it. But it restarts and kicks into play your metabolism, your mindset, the way you think. It energizes you. It fuels you all the way from that little minute that you do it in the morning for the rest of the day. So I'm going to share a QR code. We can move ahead. Okay. All right. Okay, so this is the QR code for everyone. You can scan it. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. Any questions you have, I hope you've written it in. Bindushri and I are now going to come on. We're going to start to answer your questions. As you've noticed, my 10 principles as a specialist, I kept them very, very basic because I want them to be applicable to any single person who you are working with. If you are working with a child or working with an adult or working with someone who's healing their body, even if you're working with a professional athlete who wants to move to the next level, my 10 principles are equally applicable to every single person. That was exactly how we designed this. We thought about it from every particular lens. So I hope you got something special from here. Please, if you have any comments, we're going to jump on now, and I look forward to hearing from you. Bindushri, thank you so much for inviting me on. Let's take a few questions.
Yes. So our first question, Shamil, is how to set at least, be consistent, especially if we travel a lot. You have shared one of your pointers where, raising the flow by, making sure at least there is one set of exercises done, making sure you're not missing out on it. But can you share a few more tips on how to stay consistent, especially when we travel a lot for work or for every other purpose?
Such a brilliant question. Because the way I do it is, so when I know when I'm traveling, my travel doesn't catch me by surprise. I don't wake up suddenly and then I have to go to the airport. I know exactly what's happening. So I also know how long I'm going to be traveling for. I know when I'm going to reach, when I'm going to sleep, and I start to titrate my whole day in accordance with that. So for example, if I'm taking an 8-hour flight and I'm going to be sitting in the same spot for 8 hours, then I'm trying to reduce my caloric intake because my energy expenditure is not going up. So I will not consume a lot of foods. In fact, what I'll do is try to give my body a break. So I'll try to fast during that time to help the body really detoxify during that. If I plan my travel in such a way that I get to my destination with a couple of hours of sunlight or the evening, the first thing I do is I get in and get a bit of a workout done, either in the gym or some movement. Or I fly in the night to land early and kickstart the day with movement. So if you're someone who travels, right, the easiest option is to have an in-room workout that's no longer than 15 minutes. Between 5 to 15 minutes, non-negotiable, it should be done. I also travel with elastic bands in my bag. They weigh no more than 250, 300 grams. They're not taking weight, they're not taking space, but they're giving me the equipment I need to exercise. And then I start to mindfully manage my day in a way that I can get some sort of movement in. And based on the movement, the amount of nutrition I take in gets adjusted accordingly.
Wow, that's really, really good. And I'm sure it's going to be helpful for all of us and many of us in the audience as well. So, Shamal, one more question. Now, you've mentioned as to how important sleep is in our routine, how much of a impact it has in our lifestyle. So, one of our questions is as to if we want to build muscle, if you are a person into muscle gain who wants to gain muscle, what is their optimum number of hours for sleeping? A good quality sleep, how much does it have? Should have?
So, everybody should get a minimum of 7.5 hours of sleep. Athletes get even more. Athletes get closer to 8.5, 9 hours of sleep. So the amount of intensity you're pushing your workout on will determine how much of sleep that you need. But 7.5 is the base. Now, for someone who wants to put on muscle, here's something interesting that's not related to sleep. Our body operates in something called a circadian rhythm. So our body is best predisposed to put on muscle and do strength work between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. in the night when our blood pressure is at a certain right and our body is open. And our body is best predisposed for endurance cardiovascular work in the morning from about 5 to about 9 a.m. in the morning, as also our blood pressure is peaking for the morning in there. So split your workouts out and start to do them at a time when your body is most receptive to that training methodology, and you'll find faster gains in there. But for someone who's looking, if you're pushing your body really hard, if your workout routines are between say 3 to 6 reps, 3 to 4 sets of muscle building, then I would say you need a minimum of 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep for your tissues to recover from that. And then you working that same muscle group every 48 hours and not every 24 hours.
Wow, that is very, very impactful. So along with this, we have one last question, which is towards the rebuild strength. So, which I would be taking forward. Mainly, it is in comparison of rebuild strength and F1, which is a better option to go as a post-workout meal. What, as per our discussion today, but this is for all our audience, rebuild strength is a much more better option as a post-workout protein, especially up within that 30 to 45-minute range. So please don't forget the time frames. It's not only about what you're eating, even your timing also is very important, right? So the rebuild strength, as you all know, has a good quality whey protein and casein coming in and the fast releasing carbohydrates. Whereas F1 is not a bad option, but it's not for that particular time frame. F1, our Formula One shakes, irrespective of how nutritious and how good it is, a wholesome meal replacement, it is still having a lot of other nutrients, which means it takes a lot of time for digesting into our body and being utilized by the body to show its responses. Whereas that is not the case with the rebuild strength. So always opt for rebuild strength after your workout. And with this, Shamal, it has been an amazing session, and thank you so much for your valuable time. And we're hoping to see a lot of you in the coming seasons as well of our Fracture Friday, I hope.
Thank you so much, Bindushri. Thank you for the whole Herbalife team. And thank you to every one of you who showed up. Remember, please do connect. You have anything, write to me. You can join and subscribe on LinkedIn. I have tons of newsletters, comments, whatever you want to, information's there. Plus, you've got an amazing family at Herbalife. So reach out to them. If you have any questions, keep following the Friday fact sessions and getting all of these expert things. But to everyone who welcomed me, thank you so much, and I wish you everything on the best on your journey ahead.
Thank you so much, Shamal.
Okay.
And the rest.
Hey, we got the best company in the world. We are the ones. We got the product. We got the leadership. We are the most unbelievable people. We're simply the best.